What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Investing on Flippa here on my personal channel. And today I'm going to be going over something that I've been experimenting with, as you guys can tell from previous videos. And I have this mic here because I was just doing podcast episodes and wanted to jump on here and talk to you guys because I've seen a lot of DMs and comments recently about my mobile game investing experience and my experiment that I'm doing this year. And I think that there's a lot of skeptics out there that maintain that, mobile games are high risk, which they are. Just like buying any online business, it's going to be, something you're going to have to do work on. Like, you can't just buy something and have passive income immediately. You're going to have to invest something into the processes and the people around the actual investment. So what I wanted to talk about today, if you guys are interested in learning more about this, definitely click the link in the description below to the course that I developed for buying and selling websites for beginners on Flippa and other marketplaces. But that link will be in the description below, so you guys can check out more information, learn more about this stuff, because it's not too complex, but it does take a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of knowledge. And I've accumulated a ton of information from a lot of different investors from all over the world, and some super valuable stuff in there. So definitely click that link. And if you guys are interested in learning more about mobile apps, I'm going to be putting more information out here on the channel over the coming weeks, mainly because I'm learning a lot more about how these things work, and not how these things work, like actually the technical side of the games that I'm investing in, but learning how it works as a potential asset class or like an investment channel that you can develop income through. So the first and foremost, I previously made a video about the game that I first bought. It was called Space Defense, and it's definitely still out there. It's still fine, still active. But I've been working on getting the AdMob integration set up with my developer. And AdMob is basically Google's mobile application ad network. And it talks to AdSense. If you guys are brand new to the Google ecosystem, AdSense is like the ads that run on YouTube, for example, that you see before videos. That is Google AdSense. And AdSense is kind of like the beating heart of their monetization for ads. Then you have Google Ads, and you have AdMob. And they're all kind of talking to each other. It's very intertwined. You got Google Analytics, you got Search Console, and all these things that fit under the umbrella of Google. And with AdMob, it kind of butts heads a little bit with AdSense. So there is a steep learning curve there in terms of all of the forums out there that people have written questions on. There's a lot of information out there on people getting frustrated with AdMob and AdSense. But in my experience so far, setting up a brand new AdMob account is the way to go, regardless if you have a YouTube channel or if you have an AdSense account. Setting up a brand new account on AdMob and not syncing the two seems to be the best route. Now, if you guys have any comments on that, definitely leave some comments in the description. And also, if you guys are new here, don't forget to subscribe. That kind of goes without saying. Also, like this video. It helps get the algorithm pumping and gets more viewers on the channel and helps us get this word out to a lot more people. So the first step is learning about AdMob and interstitial ads, which are basically video ads that run across your mobile application. So a example would be like a different mobile game wants to advertise on your mobile game to drive downloads for their game. So they'll create a clever little advertisement that will run across your ads or your mobile game screen. And it's usually during the sign up process or between loading screens, things like that. And I'm sure if you guys are watching this, you have seen these many times before. So those are the most bang for your buck from the research that I've done. So implementing those on two different parts of the space defense game. Now, what I've noticed is that first, with the difficulties between AdMob and AdSense speaking, creating a new account, working with the developer to implement those snippets of code to get those interstitial ads running, it is a bit of an uphill battle because a lot of the code that was in that game, this was a very inexpensive game. It was a $500 game, and the code was a little bit outdated. So we pushed an update with a lot of new updates and features just to make it more secure and make it more updated. I guess it's best to have an updated game. So when you are talking to your developer to implement these ads, it's best to take a week, take a couple of days to just have them update various different bits and bobs in the game. If they are a skilled developer, they should be able to do that and push an update where for Android as well as iOS, it will basically take a little while to get it approved. It'll say that it's under review for the update, and then it will say ready for sale for when it's ready to be active on the App Store, or when it is active. And Apple and Google have mastered this art form, obviously. So it's important to know that this is all something that can be fixed. If something breaks, it can be fixed. Don't freak out about it. It's maybe $100, maybe $200 to get a developer to go in there. If you're brand new to this, Upwork.com is fantastic for all of this. All these things that I've mentioned. Finding a developer on there is super easy. Get it done in 10 minutes. You can be talking to a developer to get this started. So the space defense ads, the interstitial ads, are in the process of being implemented currently. And the last video I made was about the process of actually buying it from Flippa. That worked out. He was a great seller. It was a lot of fun talking to him and getting that up and running. Now, one thing that I've done since the previous video was a lot of people were asking, all right, how do you diversify? If the game goes completely kaput, it's generating organic downloads. If you haven't watched that video, definitely go check it out. I show the analytics, the earnings, everything to that. The link will be below, so you guys can check that out. But one thing that I highly recommend is diversifying out with another game or another application. Multiple applications, so at least you're spread out, at least you're diversified to a certain extent. In the event that one goes completely bust, you need to at least have a couple footholds. So I got a new game. Got a new one. I met this nice developer from Brazil, and it's called Monster Shooter. And it's kind of a similar side-scrolling game, and it is for Android only, not iOS. So I wanted to double down on Google, mainly because this one is heavily reliant on ads. Now, I don't recommend this. I've talked about this on the channel in the past with e-commerce. Relying on advertisements is not a good, sustainable way of doing things. But in the ad game, I wanted to test multiple different things. So with Space Defense, we have our consistent organic downloads. We have 3 or 4 organics a day, and in-app purchases, as well as these interstitial ads that are going to be going live. And then with this new one, Monster Shooter, it is only going to be ad-driven. So people are just going to be able to see these ads running, and that's where the money will be made. So between those two games, one on iOS only, one on iOS and Android. Space Defense is on both, and then you have your Monster Shooter that is on Android only. And running Google ads on both of those is where we're going to start. And I have the guy from Brazil, super cool, and he said that he will help with the advertisements, and I was really excited to see that. I had multiple people. I think there's 3 people currently that have watched the channel that have reached out about running ads and trying to get this extreme transparent concept here for this series out there, and I love that. I am getting back to you guys as best I can. There are a lot of people interested in figuring out if this is a viable source, and this is a lot of fun doing this in the open, sharing all of this with you guys, because it is I think something that is way undervalued, and we could definitely crack open a pretty big channel here in terms of buying, investing in mobile games, and using it as a form of investment. So very, very big progress on that front. Migrating over the Monster Shooter game onto my Google Ads account. As I said before, not Google Ads, Google Developer. Google Developer is $25 a year. Apple is $100 a year. So baking those into the price, obviously we're trying to figure out how what type of returns we're going to have to see in order for this to make sense for actual money, like large quantities of money. So all in, $500 for the first game, talking about maybe $200 in development towards that to implement all of the interstitial ads. And then on top of that, we have this new game that it was $1,300 for the game itself. And then we'll probably run into maybe $200, maybe $300 in dev there. So $1,500. And we're looking at about $2,000, $2,200 all in. And the benefit of you guys is you get to watch all this, see what happens. But we're definitely going to be running ads on this, as well as I have a guy that reached out from the channel here about ASO, which stands for App Store Optimization. So we'll have ASO running, we'll have ads running. We have one with in-app purchases and ads, and then we have, which is Space Defense, and then we have the Monster Shooter that just has ads. And we will be running Google Ads for both of them. And I'm excited about it. I know a lot of you guys are, and a lot of people have DM'd me asking me about this just because it's a pretty interesting concept, and I think it's exciting just to try something new. And I am going to be in Miami this week for a conference, so I'm probably not going to be able to do any sort of development migration help on my end, but it is pretty straightforward. The developers just take some time to compile all the code together, swap over the ads, which is the first step, and then migrate the actual game over to your account. So you just send them your ID. As I mentioned in the previous video that goes way more in depth here, they migrate the ads first, migrate the actual app over to your account, and then you're set to go. If you want to add different concepts to the game, you can, but I recommend just letting it roll, set up the ads, and start cranking. So it will be interesting as this series progresses. The series progresses to show you guys what happens when you turn ads on a brand new game that you're not familiar with, and that you can really crank up the volume on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with both Space Defense versus the Monster Shooter, because these two games are not as similar as, I mean, it's good to have different types of games just because you don't want to just double down on one category that tanks. So we are diversified enough for me to be comfortable, and I think this is worth pursuing. So definitely leave a comment below, like the video if you guys are interested in this experiment. It is an expensive experiment, so definitely show me some love if you can. Click the link in the description below to check out the course that I made about this concept and buying and selling websites in general. And that is it for this one. I will update you guys as soon as I can once all of the ads are live. And also the Space Defense game will be in the description below. So give it a download, see what I'm dealing with. And I will see you guys on the next episode of this series.